All right, so now we know that we can, of course, have information on the data and show it on the screen. And of course, we can change something by running a function or a method. Of course, we know that. And one of the best features of this frameworks, just like Vue or React or Angular, is the two-way binding. So far we used the be on, but right now we're going to use something else. What happens if you want to add maybe a form with an input or something, and we want to add the information to the data? We want to store the data directly. All right, so we're gonna create a form. I'm gonna tell you how to use it, and we're gonna use a new directive called VModel. All right, let me first create the form. Just create it right now. First is gonna be the form. I'm gonna attach the v_on. We're gonna, of course, talk about the VModel, but for this one, since I want to get to run a function whenever we submit it, I'm gonna use the v_on. This is the way we need to use it. And then, of course, I'm gonna do the prevent, and I'm gonna create a function where we're gonna be getting all the data at the end. So it's gonna be form handler. This is the name of the method. So I'm gonna go to the method, say form handler, open and close. And of course, this one will be getting all the information later. So the only thing I need to do is to console log the data. I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to store all the form information inside of the data. So I'm going to create a new key called form data, from data. All right. So of course, this is an object, and our form only has a name of empty and then a last name, right? Pretty simple form, last name. All right, pretty simple form. So now inside of here, of course, we need to add a button. So I'm gonna create a submit button. Actually, it's a button. Then the type is gonna be submit, right? And this one is gonna be submit, of course. So whenever we submit the form, I want to print on the screen, on the console, the name and the last name we are entering on the inputs. We're going to create the inputs right now. So first, before I do that, I'm going to do console log, open and close, and I'm going to do this dot form data. So all the information we have inside form data, we're going to print it on the screen when we submit. We kind of know this. Now, okay, of course, we need to add some inputs. So first, I'm going to create a label. Let me do it again. Label. And the label first, of course, it's for the name. And then, of course, we need to add an input. And the input is going to be type of text, right? And then we just open and close it, right? And, I'm going to separate everything with an HR. And I'm just going to copy and paste the other one, which is going to be the last name. All right, and same thing with the ruler. All right, of course, if I reload the application, we get a pretty ugly form. So now, how can we send the information we are typing every time we type it and store it inside of here? And we don't do it with this. Let me do prevent. All right, we don't do it with the v_on. We need to use the VModel. All right. So with the VModel, and of course everything is on the documentation, we want to use two-way binding with the input and store it on the data. We need to use the directive VModel. All right. So the VModel, what it's going to do is just going to store whatever value we enter right here, and everything happens dynamically. So if we are storing things inside form data and name, because this is the name, we need to let the application know that this one goes inside form data and then name. And same thing with the last name. So if I go to last name, I need to make a reference to last name. And that is it. We don't need to do anything else. Vue.js is really smart about this. If I type a name, Francis, and the last name, Jones, I'm going to do submit. And of course, you're going to get this object, but don't worry. At the end, when you submit this through Ajax, all this information, it's going to go away. What you care is about this. You get the last name and the Francis. So we are able to do the console log from this, really simple. And if I change it, I don't know, to something else, John Mitchell, doesn't matter. I'm going to do submit. Everything, of course, happens dynamically. It's going to change the information on the fly, and then, of course, show it. Okay, really smart and simple to use. Now, this VModel, this directive, only works for inputs, selects, and text areas. Everything is right here, and of course components. But when we talk about forms, it's just this 3. All right, everything is on the docs. Okay, so you've also get some modifiers with models. Let me give you an example. Let's say I'm going to copy this one and paste it at the bottom. Let's say that you want an H, and this input, it's of course still type of text. And this H is going to be H, and then of course we need to add it right here at the bottom, H. Now I'm going to reload the application. I'm going to type the name, the last name, and maybe 34. And I'm going to submit it, and if we check the information that we get H, we get the H, but it's a string. And maybe you need this as a number. So you can make use of modifiers. You get one where you can specify, you can tell Vue.js that whenever Vue.js enters the information or updates the information on the H, it's going to convert everything to a number. So you do dot, for the modifiers, and everything is going to be translated as a number. So if I reload it, type whatever, and I submit, the H, it's blue because it's a number. And of course, this is going to go to the server with a valid type of. And same thing, you have a different thing, which is very useful, is the trim mode. Sometimes, and of course, most of the times, this is handled by the server. If you have an input text, you get an input text, and maybe the user is going to do space, type the name, whatever, and then space. The space counts as a character, as a valid character. So whenever they submit the information, this is going to go to the server with the actual space. So this is not good. Then the server is going to, trim everything. But with Vue.js, you get a modifier for trim. So you get the trim. So if we reload the application, I do space, type whatever, and space, and I submit it. You get the name with the trimmed white spaces. Now, every time we type something right here, for example, I type G, Vue.js is going to grab that G and update what is happening right here. So everything happens on one key up, right? So it's very dynamic. Now, sometimes you don't want this behavior. You want for Vue.js to update after they are done typing everything and they go outside of the box. You get the lazy modifier for this. Of course, I'm not going to show you, but of course, you're going to say lazy, and this information will be updated. The form data and the last name will be updated after the user goes out of the box. Good. It's a good resource we have access to if you want to add it. And that is it, very simple to use. Like I told before, Vue.js is very smart with this. And of course, we're gonna discuss forms a lot more. We are just viewing the basics. We are just learning the basics, all right? So we have a whole section for forms. So let's go to the next one. We're gonna start with something else. It's gonna be kind of fun. We're gonna work with styles.